Hi guys, today I'm bringing you my current deck list for the format. Since my last deck list video, there have been a lot of changes happening. We have a new ban list, we have new combos discovered for the deck, and new topping deck list. With all this in mind, let's examine the cards I'm currently liking for this format. Alright, so since my last deck list video, I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I really want to put a video out there because a lot of people have been asking me for a video on my deck list. So let's go right into it. There have been three changes from the previous deck list due to the ban list. Obviously, now we only have one Prosperity, and we do not have Zapalooza anymore. So this changed the deck quite a bit, and funny enough, we have been discovering new combo lines to play with the deck that actually were available before the ban list, but there has been a lot. We have sort of like a Ritual Beast Renaissance, if you want to call it. But there have been a lot of discoveries of things that we just noticed now that are possible with the deck, with some a little bit spicy cards that you guys will see in just a minute. So with these three cards out of the way, let's jump into the main deck first. So put these two to the side, and for the main deck we're gonna start with what is already established with as the core of the deck. So we have the monsters that we know are gonna be the ones in the list every single time. So we have the elders, and by the way, with these monsters, I'm gonna post below in the description a link to one of my previous deck lists where I explain these cards. But I think by now many of these are already well established in the format. We know we want to play three elders, we know we want to play Tilaras, so these are gonna be very established already in the format. And apart from that, I also just made a video where I got together with Joshua and Jorge, which top in the NAWCQ, and together with Julio, which was actually just coming back for the World Championship, and we go over a lot of cards and we give our opinion about all those cards. So if you wanna, if there's a card that you don't see here today and you want it to be covered, you can go and watch that video and get my opinion, not only my opinion, but also their more expert opinion, I should say, about the list. Now let's jump into the first card that I think actually deserves talking about. And as you noticed earlier, we lose 2 copies of Prosperities. Now with this, there is different ways to replace it, and I see people taking different approach. One, you can go ahead and, as you might have seen in my previous videos, I always mention that there is 2 different builds for the deck. You have the Ball Breakers, you have the Handtraps. Right now that's still the case. We don't really have a definitive list, different from a lot of other topping deck lists. There is not a definitive build for Ritual Beast right now. So the 2 Prosperity can be replaced by hand traps, or they can be Ball Breakers if you're going for that approach, or in my case, I decide to replace them with just consistency cards. So do a 1-to-1 consistency for consistency card replacement. So the 2 Prosperity are going to be replaced by consistency cards, and the first one of those consistency cards is going to be a Shield Bearer. So Shield Bearer is going to be working as our 4th Rampengu, and you have never seen this card before. Basically what it does is that when it's in the hand, you can banish it. You can you want to look at the second effect here. You can banish it from the hand or field to add a level 6 or lower Wind Beast monster, and that will be our Rampengu. Now the first effect, also I have never activated. You will think after reading it, you will think it's more relevant, but actually it really doesn't come up that often, and I have mainly only used it probably maybe once before. So this will be our 4th Rampengu, and this will add some consistency to the deck. Now apart from that, we're gonna have 3 copies of Inheritance. So as you recall, my last deck list, we have 2 Inheritance. Now we have 3 copies because I want to keep that consistency in the deck. So we have the Shield Bearer, and now we're gonna have 3 Inheritance. And all this is trying to go for that consistency that we lost with the 2 Prosperity. Apart from those lists, we have some the usual culprits here. We have the 3 tellies, and now only 1 prosperity. I think prosperity is still a 1, is still worth playing. I mean, it's a consistency card that we were playing at 3, so if we're gonna think about playing at 3 copies, it's still worth it to play that 1 copy, you know. One thing with prosperity is that you do have to get used to, if you were not playing the deck last format, you will have to get used to playing the deck with prosperity. What I mean with that is that you will have to get used to selecting your targets. You will have to get used to not playing with those cards in the extra decks whenever you draw prosperity and activate it, obviously, no? So we have prosperity, and we can cover that later in the video. Apart from that, I'm playing Nemeses Flag and Protoss, which are pretty much established at this point as 2 cards that we definitely want to play. The Nemesis package include add a lot of power to the deck, and we have the option to go into Protoss, which, especially now that Jubel seems to be like the deck to beat, is a really good option that we have for our end boards, and only that, also for clearing boards whenever we're going second. So apart from that, we have our 3D shifters. Not much to say on that one. And I personally am still liking quite a bit the board breaker approach. So I am still building with board breakers this list, and I notice there's some topping lists with both builds. Fun enough, we have topping lists with board breakers, we have topping lists with the Handtrap approach. So I personally like Book of Eclipse a lot. It's a card that I have talked about I extend before in the channel. I like in 3 even lists and 3 dark rulers. And we have the last card that will be your 1 Steeds, no? So now with these cards in mind, I want to make a side note here because we do have the Shield Bearer here. With these cards in mind, the core of the deck, and you know, Ritual Beast has a very large core for the deck. The cards I wouldn't replace are around 30 cards. So if you count here, with these cards, let's count all this and this in here, and actually I'm gonna move this over so we can better talk about them. With these cards, we have 30 cards in the deck, so we have around 10 flex spots in the deck. And this is, obviously I'm playing Inheritance, which I'm still liking quite a bit, and I guess another card which we have talked about is Pettlephin. And Pettlephin at this point I think is very well established in the deck. I personally like it quite a bit. I noticed very often you will need that extra spiritual base monster, and you will also need that monster that can work as out for certain cards. Otherwise your only outs are normally coming from the extra deck. So I still like Pettlephin quite a bit. You will notice ZefraPilica is not here. I think it has been established for the most part by this point that this is more or less what we want to be playing. ZefraPilica is a really good card, but especially if we're trying to see consistency, especially now that we only have 1 pot, I feel that it's good to keep the cards, the build as small as possible. And ZefraPilica, she does have a couple of benefits that we're not utilizing it. When you start a combo with Emergency Teleport, you get 1 less search because you don't have ZefraPilica on those combos. And she also works as a really good card when it comes to turn 3. You know, like sometimes you go through your whole board, your opponent cleared your board, and you would really like to search that ZefraPilica to your hand that will be able to reborn Kimufalco, give you another normal summon, and get the ball rolling from there, no? So that's the other card that we could consider for here, but for now I'm really liking this approach. So now, I mentioned we have these cards in here, the 30 cards that I consider pretty much a standard in the deck, no? Now let's say you want to build the deck a little bit differently. Well, you have these 10 cards in here that I think could be a lot of different options I want to go through. The first one of which is one that I see some people playing already. One card that is really popular, have been in my builds before, and that will be the Corridor Colossus package. And this is a really good way to play the deck. And to be honest with you, I don't really have anything negative to take about Corridor right now. I'm personally not playing it just because I'm liking going first, Protoss Calling Dark better. but this is gonna depend a lot on where you are playing the deck, and that's another thing that is interesting about the Ritual Beast deck, that depending on where you're playing, your build is gonna change a lot. For example, if you are playing right now in a format, in a place that you see there's a lot of diversity with the decks, you know, you have a lot of White Forest, you have a lot of decks that are not specifically dark decks. You know, you have Mementos, you have a lot of Fire King. You might want to go for the Corridor Colossus approach, you know, and do this game one. Now, personally, I has a local, and this region where I live on is a lot of people just gravitate to the top deck, no? That right now will be Jubel. So I prefer to be calling dark, which is something I have been doing for my last couple of regionals before the Banlist. So this is definitely a good approach to go with, and what I will do is I will get rid of this, put this in, and just call it a day for the main list, no? For the main deck, sorry. Now, there's different approaches you can follow here, and as we were mentioning earlier, we're talking about maybe playing hand traps. So these 10 cards in here could also be replaced by 3 Ash, 3 Impermanents, 3 Nips, and one of these 2 cards. That will be Calby or TTT. And this is a similar approach to, I believe, Cory, that just stopped back-to-back regionals in the US is taken. So he's playing a lot of hand traps instead. He's not playing ball breakers. And he's playing TTTs on his build. I think he's playing a playset of TTTs, and he's doing something with the ratios here. So with any virus, he cut them to a lower amount. But this is basically the other approach you can take. And these are the 3 hand traps I'm personally liking if you go for this approach. Now, another approach that you could do, that I'm liking quite a bit, if you're going to play hand traps, is the personality of these 2. If I was going to play hand traps, I would play it like this personally. I like in Calby, personally like it more than the Protective talents. But to be honest with you, there is merit to both approaches. Another thing you could do, and it's just that this card is so good with the deck, is the Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is really good, so you could play Book of Eclipse and play the 6 more impactful hand traps in here. So you could play, I will go for 3 Nibiru and probably the Ash Blossoms here. Lead Impermanence out, or maybe play 1 Impermanence, you know? Or you could also go 2/2, and maybe in the side deck you play crossouts. So a lot of different approaches that you can follow for this. So as you can see, it's difficult for me to give you a clear advice of how to play the deck, just because right now in particular we're finding out that the deck has so much depth in gameplay. So playing the deck is so important, the quality of player that you are with the deck, then you can find success with so many different builds. And this deck, I'll be honest, if you're a top player, I will definitely go for this deck, just because it gives you so much agency, especially in the current build, to showcase your ability as a player. So, but going back to the deck list, this is one really liking right now. So we're gonna get rid of this for now. Some of these cards will come back when we talk about the side deck. But for now, this is the build that I'm currently running. So we have the core Ritual Beast monster, we have our extenders, we have some cards for consistency, including this one. We have obviously our shifters, our Protoss flag for the Nemesis package, and liking board breakers still. So you'll see it's very similar to the list I played in the past. And one thing that I like about this list, actually, before we go into the extra deck, is that personally I think this plays extremely well into Jubel. Part of the reason for that is that I'm noticing that board breakers, at least from my experience, are very impactful against Jubel. Very impactful, because the moment that you bait 1 negate, the rest of the board normally fall apart to a board breaker. Like for example, if you have an approach where you have Eclipse and Evenly, or you have the ruler and you have something else to bait and negate, the second negate that you activate, the second card you activate will go through, And if you lose your battle phase, like for example, if we go that ruler evenly, we lose the battle phase, we clear the board, we just summon Protoss, called Dark, and you do that turn after turn after turn until you basically win the match, you know. As long as you're able to cover for the Finsmith package, you are pretty much good to go for the rest of the match. So I think this is very, very strong into your build. That's another thing I like it. Alright, so this is the main list, the main deck, sorry. Let's go ahead and jump into the extra deck, okay? I'm gonna put the cards over here. And for the extra decks, if you recall, I mentioned earlier, we did lose one copy of Appaloosa. And losing Appaloosa changed the deck a lot, because Appaloosa was the card that protect all combos from disruption. So we have those Elder Kanaha, Elder Rampengu lines that protected the deck from Appaloosa. So now we don't have that, but we do have still options to play through Nibiru in particular, and other hand traps. So we're gonna have the two Kanahas. It's already a card that is well established at 2 copies. Similar to that, 2 copies of Ultinochi. We have the 1 Ulti Apelio, which I think this card, if you are just picking up the deck, or if you are just practicing combos on your own, you might not see the utility of this card until you actually start playing in matches. And you notice that when you get interrupted, you notice that when you go ahead and you get hand traps, so sometimes there is some game situations where you just need that extra Spiritual Beast monster. This can help you a lot by being something you can banish with Rampengu to go ahead and put in the graveyard that Apelio, so you have the extra name there for you. So this is extremely useful. And now we also have our Ultigai Apelio. So we have this in the list. And we also have, and I want to make a note here, we have the Ultikimo Falcon and the Ulti Rotary. Now, you will notice I'm playing one and one of these. And a lot of lists right now I'm playing two of these or 2 of these. Now, the main reason why people are gravitating to playing 2 is that you are gonna be summoning or using Gaia Pelio way more now in the build. The reason behind that is that Gaia Pelio is an Omni Negate, and it's a card that can protect your combos to interruptions, no? So now we have some more lines that play through Nibiru, and we need Ulti Gaia Pelio for that. So if we're gonna be summoning Ulti Gaia Pelio, that's a Psychic, no? And we're gonna need an extra Psychic for Rampengu, so we're gonna need Ultimo Falco or Ulti Rotary to be banished. So how do we go ahead and summon the other monsters and complete your combo with that card banished, no? Now, for me personally, and this might be because I got used to playing the deck, you know, I've been playing this deck for, oh my god, probably like 9-10 months. But I got used to playing only one copy. So I often find that I can play around it, play without the other copy of one of these, at least in the way I'm playing pretty well, no? Now for your build, I will incentivize you to go ahead and test it yourself. I will start with 1 copy of each. As you see the need for a second copy, go ahead and add it into the deck. And if you're going to add a second copy of one of these 2, I would recommend Kimur Falco, personally, just because I have played 2 Kimur Falcos in the past, and I think when turn 3 comes around, especially after you see my deck, the rest of my extra deck, where we're trying to do a lot of link climbing, the other Kimur Falco does come in handy, no? So we have these 2 cards in here that are very helpful. And again, if you want to play 2 copies of one of these 2, that's completely fine. But personally, I'm liking one of each right now. So now for the next cards, now we're mentioning Nibiru a lot, and this is the card I was mentioning from the very beginning when I did one of my first deck profiles. You want to be playing formal with Nibiru, Link Spider has to be there. So if we see Nibiru in the main deck, which is what we're seeing now, Link Spider is going to be in the extra deck for us. So we need Link Spider in here. Now, Link Spider, to be honest with you, will come probably maybe once or twice when you're in an event like a regional. But when you need Link Spider, you really do. And we have to see how people begin to adapt to playing with the deck, because especially now that the deck is finding so much success in the format. You know, we have a regional topping list left and right, and Ritual Beast seems to be around the third best deck of the format right now. We're gonna see people adapt and start playing cards against Ritual Beast, or also get more experience playing against the deck. Which that means is that people are gonna start using Nibiru maybe earlier in the combos, people are gonna start getting to use more cards that counter the deck, and for that we need the link spider. So we link spider in here. We have a card that will be able to convert that token, the Nibiru token that we get, into an effect monsters, and that's important because Ulti Rerotare requires 3 effects monsters, no? So that's the importance of Link Spider, and that's why I like it here in the extra deck. Now, we have Link Spider in here, and we have another card that doesn't need introduction, and that's the SP Little Knight. The SP Little Knight is incredibly important. Sometimes you need to sort of like sacrifice it, you want to call it, in the middle of the combo to banish your Banshee from the graveyard, so you can bring it back and go for Rerotare with SP, Banshee, and Flag. Now, we play one copy of SP Little Knight. I think it's really good card, and I think it's fine at one copy. I feel that you will notice we have a space for other link tools in here, and we're gonna cover that conversation at the end of the extra deck discussion. So if you don't have Little Knight, you could play Haggard Lizardos instead. So this card, you have never seen it before. The main thing that it does here, if my camera want to cooperate, there we go, is that it allows you to banish a card, a monster in your graveyard. What that means is that you can summon this, you can banish your Banshee, bring the Banshee back, and still do the play where you go Hazard, where you go Haggard, Banshee, and also Flag for your ulti Rerotare. So this is a good alternative if you don't have the SP Little Knight. Alright, so the next cards, and here is a card that a lot of people have been dropping, but I'm personally really liking it still, and that's a Nightmare Unicorn. And Nightmare Unicorn will go together here with Access Code. So these two cards I'm really liking it still. Now, part of the reason why I like Unicorn so much is that Unicorn, apart from Pettlephin, is the only way we have to out a card without destroying it. And that is very important. So we have Unicorn in here because it will also help us rise or link climb to Access Code, no? And Access Code will be 53 when it comes out, and as you notice, 53 plus a boosted Ritual Beast monster like an Ultinocho Dragon or a boosted Ulti Rerotari is game. That's a game. So that's why I like in this combo here. I know some people have been caught in the Unicorn. This is really, and I know I'm mentioning this a lot in the video, and I wish I could give you a well-established list that we know is like the best, card by card, the best list for the format, but it's just, there is so many different ways to play this deck. It's part of the, sort of like part of the beauty of the deck, that you can go ahead and find success playing so many different versions of it, no? Or so many different lists. So, but yeah, we have Unicorn in here, and we have Access Code. These two are gonna complement what is the ability of the deck to clear boards, which is something that is lacking within the core of the deck, no? So I'm liking these two still. If you're not playing these two, sometimes people play extra copies of Ray, sometimes people play extra copies of Kimu Falco, and we're gonna see other options that we have just in a little bit. So we have these two cards in here, Access Code Nightmare Unicorn, and we also have our Infernal Flame Banshee, and this is for the Nemesis package. As you know, Banshee is able to search a Pyro, and that will be your Nemesis flag. Search a Pyro or send to a graveyard. That will be your Nemesis flag, and when she's banished, when there is a Pyro in the field, like Flag or Apelio, she come back and she'll help us climb into something like a Rerotare. So, Infernal Flame Banshee, important card to have in the deck. And the last two spots in here are the main flex spots of that I'm choosing for this format. So these two cards are the main decisions that I make, and they're gonna vary between between who is playing the deck, no? So the first one is the Pig Knight. Now, why I'm liking Pig Knight right now? Well, I was mentioning earlier that we has been, or I am calling, I should say, Protoss Dark a lot. And we're playing against Jubel. So we're gonna be locking Dark with Protoss. We want a monster that is part of our Embor that is not a Dark monster. And for that, the Pin Knight is a Fire monster. Now, if you're playing against a Fire deck like Firekin, and you wanna call Fire, well, then you have the Spiritual Knight already. That is a Dark monster and can be a part of your Embor. So, as you can see, we still have both of those options available. I'm personally liking the Pin Knight quite a bit. Now, the Pin Knight does come with some downsizes. Number one is that the Pin Knight doesn't do anything by herself. She has ready Pin Knight. She is able to, if a monster that discard point to it activates effect, she's able to negate a monster effect on the field and put its attack back down to 0. Now what that means is that when Pin Knight is on the field by herself, she doesn't do anything. But she pointing at something like an Ultinocio Dragon, an Ulti-Rare Otari, or any Ritual Beast monster that can actually activate its effect to a special monster from the extra deck. She will be able to resolve, and she will be able to pop something, to negate the monster effects, no? Now, Pin Knight also does something else in this particular list, and it's that when Pin Knight is in your graveyard, because it was destroyed turn before, she's able to come back the next turn. And that's important because Pin Knight is going to be a link 2 that can help us climb into Unicorn, that can help us climb into Access Code. So in this particular build, she also covered that role. Now, Pin Knight is a really good card, but to be honest with you, you have many options here, and we're going to cover them in just a minute. Before, I want to mention the next card that is sort of like the card everybody has been talking about with Ritual Beast lately, and that is the Cross Ship. Now, it's a card that Shu actually brought to our attention, and the Cross Ship is, if you have never seen it, it's a card that used to be played back in the day when we used to have the Shadow format. And if the camera focus there for a second, and the important of the Cross Ship is that it has 3 effects depending on what is pointing to. At the moment, if a monster is a special summon to a zone that she points to. The one that we care about here is the Fusion one. When this card is Fusion summon, you can special summon a level 4 lower monster from the graveyard. That monster that we special summon from the graveyard normally is gonna be our Nemeses flag. Now, Cross Ship is important because it open 2 combo lines for the deck. So, and I feel this is a good moment to talk about the combo lines for the deck. So, as we know, we already have 2 combo lines that used to play around Nibiru last format, no? That we knew about. We have the Elder Rampengu, the Elder Kanaha, no? We have those 2. Now, in this format, we also discovered that the Lara Kanaha and the Lara Rampengu lines play through Nibiru. And they're able to play through Nibiru without the Cross Ship. Now, we also discovered that all those 4 lines, the 2 lines with Elder Kanaha, Elder Rampengu, Lara Kanaha, Lara Rampengu, are able to play through Nibiru while on their shifter. But I believe, I'm not sure if I don't recall at this moment if the Elder Kanaha, Elder Rampengu play on their shifter, play around Nibiru on their shifter without Cross Ship. I think they do. But the Lara Kanaha and the Lara Rampengu, and obviously I'm talking about Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara, play around Nibiru while on their shifter only if you have Cross Ship. So that's something important to keep in mind. And I know it seems kind of very niche, talking about it that way, that you need to have 3 cards. So you need to have Shifter, Lara, and Elder or Kanaha. But when you consider having Inheritance, having Prosperity, and how often you want to have those cards in your hand, it does become relevant. So the Cross Ship is important for that. Now, another thing that the Cross Ship does for the deck is that coming turn 3, you can go for a link tool like Cross Ship. You can banish monsters from your grave, summon Nocio Dragon, and bring back the flag, and you have 4 monsters there that can help you climb all the way to Access Code. So it's important to have the Cross Ship in the deck because of that, you know. So the Cross Ship is serving a lot of purpose in the deck, but it's still quite experimental. You know, you will have to adapt your combos, and you will have to relearn some combo lines if you are playing Cross Ship, and it's something that we're still working on. If you see the spreadsheet that I have, you will notice a lot of the newer combos includes Cross Ship, and I make sure to mark there when they do. So Cross Ship, very good card in the deck, and I will encourage you to try it out in your flex spot. So just go ahead and play the cards you want to play and include Cross Ship at the end. Now we have these 2 cards in here, and there is other cards that if you wanna know the opinion and extend opinion of a lot of the cards that we're talking about today. I record a video with Julio, Joshua, and Jorge, and you can go there and notice what our opinions are about a lot of the cards in the format. No? Now, there's 2 more cards that I have been considering testing for this. And you will notice that the first card is a card that was there before, and is the IP Masquerena. Now, IP still is a fabulous card. It's a really, really good Yu-Gi-Oh card. I will see some lists still included, but the thing that I don't like of IP is that she's a dark monster. What that means is that when we Protoss Dark, we cannot summon her. So that could be an issue depending on what you're trying to do with the deck. But personally, that's the main reason why I'm playing the Pin Knight instead of the IP, but it's still a really good card to include. Now the other one is the Silhouette Hat Rabbit, and I was testing this card for some time, and I personally not liking it as much as the Pin Knight. And the main reason behind it is 2 things. So one, it forces you to have the Azurun, which is a good interruption, but it's also a brick. So it forces you to have the Azurun in the deck. And the other thing is that this only covers 1 role in the deck. So if you notice, many of the cards that were mentioned, like when I speak about the Pin Knight, she's able to come back on your turn and help you climb, link climb into Access Code. While the Rabbit is only able to work well going first, and only that, the interruptions that I provide normally are gonna be better only going first. Like for example, Azurun, sure, she can be, the statue can be on the field and be a form of interruption by, preventing a summon, no? But for the most part, if you're going second, this is not gonna be very useful. Like the opponent board is probably re-established, and setting a card on the field is something that is very susceptible to disruptions. And the Silhouette Rabbit require the Azurun in order to be able to pop. So this has a very singular effect in the deck, it's just that is what it does. So I am currently really preferring other options, in this case the Pin Knight there and the Cross Ship. So this is another card that you could consider adding to the deck. Now again, these are just some of the options. I go more in length with my previous video about this. So, and the last option, obviously, is a card we already talked about, is the Colossus. And what you will do here is that you will cut the cut the Pin Knight, and put the Colossus in. So as an option you have, or even the Cross Ship and put the Colossus in. So that's a change that I could see myself making in the future for the deck. So let's go ahead, and now that we discuss this, and we discuss some of the combo lines, let's go ahead and take a look at the side deck. Now the side deck again goes down a lot to preference and where you feel like playing currently in the format. But personally, still liking a similar approach to the one that we had before. So we still have 2 Lightning Storms and 1 Duster. I'm liking these 3 cards in the side quite a bit. And I have two cards in here that are floodgates. So we have the Cebu and we have Dimensional Fissure. Now, this Cebu is here because I think right now it's one of the best floodgates in the format, just because many of the decks are single single typing, no? Now, the thing with Tisibu, when you're playing with Tisibu, the important thing to keep in mind is that you do not want to have Kanaha on the field. You have to be very, very careful when you summon Kanaha in the field. The main reason behind that is that Kanaha and Ulti Kanaha are the same type, no? They're both Thunder. So, as long as you don't put Kanaha on the field and you start managing yourself with the spiritual beasts that are not Winda, so with Apelio, Pettlephin, and Rapengu, you will be okay. So that's the main thing with this. You have to be careful how you play around it, so it doesn't lock yourself out of the game, no? One thing that I like of Tisibu is that as you play the deck, you will notice that it's easy to link climb once you have Tisibu with still Tisibu in the field, just because Crosshift is a beast, I mean Unicorn is a Fiend, and Access Code happen to be a Cyber, so you're good on that end, no? So that's these 5 cards. Let's go to the next 10. So we have 2 Mulcharmies, and I'm still liking this quite a bit for going second. And we have 4 package of 4 cards for time here. The 3 Ghost Sisters and the 1 Cowboy here. And the last are cards that we already talked about a little bit. One liking the Ash Blossoms, and Ash Blossom is here to counter Branded, just in case we get a matchup, because it's very unfavorable. As you notice, we're playing board breakers. You don't have much that can stop the Puppet Lock. So we're playing the Ash Blossoms, and we are playing 1 Call by the Grave here. Now, the reason for this is that obviously mainly is because Mulcharm is part of the format. So these 4 cards in here are able to stop the Purulia from resolving. So that's important of these 4 cards here. Now, one thing I want to mention before we start talking about the side deck is the actually Sidedeck Patterns, no? Now we have a lot of cards in here, and this is normally one sidecking out, sidecking in whenever I'm playing the deck. So if we're gonna go first, I'm gonna remove the cards that are good going second. I'm normally gonna get rid of these 6 cards, the Tiffany and the 3 Dark Rulers. And what we're putting in? We're putting in 2 Tisibus, we're putting in the 3 Ash Blossoms, and we're putting in the 1 Call by the Grave. So we have these 4 and these 2 coming in for the 3 Venice and the 3 Dark Rulers. And that will be our deck going first. Now the main issue is going second. Going second, what we put in? Well, you see our deck is already very, very heavily geared into going second. We have a total of 9 board breakers and the best hand trap in the game, no? So we have 12 cards that are really extremely good going second, no? But we can still make some changes. So we're gonna be putting in our Lightning Storms in here. And we could also, depending on how we're feeling about the matchup, put in our Ash Blossoms here and our Mulcharmies. So normally one liking to do is putting these 5 cards in, putting the 3 sort of like board clearers here in the 2 Lightning Storms and the Dusters and the Purulias. What 5 cards we're taking out? We're taking out the Shield Bearer and taking out 2 Inheritance. And the last 2 cards are normally kind of divided on what to take out. Depending on the matchup, obviously if you're playing against a deck like Tempa, or you're playing a mirror match, you will want to take out the shifters, no? So that could be something you could do. Another thing you could do is you take out the Prosperity. So normally I will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th card sometimes is the Book of Eclipse. And that's the issue with this list in particular. Is that, and as you recall when we spoke with Julio like a month ago when we talked about his topping list, he mentioned he was playing 41 for this same reason, because you don't have a good 40 card to take out in here. But I do want to play 40 just because we need the extra consistency now, no? So I will take out again, personally, I will take out the Shield Bearer, 2 Inheritance, 1 here, and also the last card will be the Prosperity, no? So if you take out some consistency, well, you're gonna be getting 6 cards going second to put these 5 cards in, and not to mention that Purulia is a really good consistency card, especially against Shubera. So that's basically the Sidedeck Patterns. Now, There's other cards in here that we haven't talked about in the side deck, and this is the Spooky Dogwood, and this is gonna be a 1-to-1 trade with this and the Dark Rulers. So if we go to time, the Rulers prevent us from doing any sort of damage. So Dogwood is gonna be the card that we put in, no? So it's gonna be a 1-to-1 trade in there. And the other one will be the Cowboy. So what do we take out for the Cowboy? Well, it depends. If we're gonna go second, we're not gonna be using the Link Spider, so I normally take out that. Depending on the matchup, you might want to take out the Cross Ship or the Eerie Knight. And that's normally what I like it. Or if you're going first and you know there's not gonna be time for anything else, you can take out the Nightmare Unicorn too. So that's basically the Sidedeck Patterns we have. Now there's one thing that we haven't covered yet, and it's the one pot of Prosperity. So what will be the pot of Prosperity targets? So this depends. If you're going first and you don't have a hand already that plays through Nibiru, through early Nibiru, you will want to probably take out the Link Spider. Now, if you're going first still, you can take out the Nightmare Unicorn and you can take out the Access Code, because those two cards are mainly used going second. Another card that you could take out will really depend on your hand, and I wish I could give you just a blanket rule of what to take out and put in, what to take out when you activate Pot of Prosperity. But you could also take out the Ulti Apelio, and depending on the combo line you're going for, because some combo lines sacrifice the Ulti Notion Dragon, if you're gonna end up with Ulti Notion on the field, and you know that already, you could take out one of the Ulti Notions, because the Ulti Notion in the field is gonna tag out, no? So yeah, and if you're going, let's say you're going second instead, you want to take out, personally I like to take out the Airy, I like to take out the Link Spider, since, you know, at that moment your opponent already has established board, you don't want to be playing around Nibiru that much. And I also like to take out the Cross Ships here, or take out the Ulti Apelio depending on my hand, or even the Ulti Gaia Apelio. So those are the targets that you could go for. And I'm personally always do Prosperity for 3. Most of the, I shouldn't say always, most of the time you go for Prosperity for 3. You very rarely need a Prosperity for 6. I will only go Prosperity for 6 if I really don't have a way to play. So sometimes in this deck, if you have played before, you get hands that you only have Tamers, and you don't really have a good way to play. So for those hands, I will go 6 deep. And then I really have to think what to take out. Normally, it could be a copy of the Notion Dragon, it could be Gaia Apelio, because at that point we're not gonna play around Nibiru, no? So Ultinoshi, Gaia Apelio, Link Spider, the Air is a good candidate together with the Cross Ship, and if we're going first, it could be even the Nightmare Unicorn too, no? And that way you keep the access code for your OTK turn 3 if you are able to get there. So you have a lot of options there. Post Prosperity is an interesting card, and I will encourage you, if you're gonna play it, even if it's a one copy, to practice what you're gonna take out and keep those things in mind while you are playing. So last, this is the list that we currently have. As you can see, it's very similar to the list I was playing before, with some small adjustments based on the new Banlist and based on Jubel being the best deck right now. So if you want to take a screenshot, this is basically the one you want to take. So with this list in mind, again, I want to just mention one last time, this is the list I'm currently playing, but there is different ways to build the deck. You can have hand traps in, you can go ahead and play Colossus, you can play without the Cross Ship, and that's going to change the list quite a bit. And last, I want to thank you guys for watching the video. It has a big project on the works currently that I cannot talk about for next month. Just keep an eye out for a video next month. And I want to thank you for watching, and again, just encourage you, if you're planning to play the deck, to go ahead and explore a lot of the alternatives that we talk about today, and also that there is a really good resource if you're planning to learn the deck, and that is the spreadsheet created, and it has a new section in there for new players. So if you want to look up any of the combos, Nibiru combos, any of the combo lines for, I think we have 22 or 23 different starting hands. I cover a lot of the starting hands you will get with the deck. You can go ahead and take a look at the spreadsheet. Thank you so much for watching again, and please comment below and let me know how your deck list look like and what changes you have. Are you playing Colossus right now? Are you playing Handtrap? I would be very curious to see what your current build of the deck is. I'm gonna try to be streaming this weekend, likely Saturday morning, so just keep an eye out for that. And thank you again for watching. And if you like the video, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you want to keep an eye out for my video next month or for more Riddle Beast content. Thank you for watching.